welcome to Saturday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to be trying a liar puzzle called Pinocchio II by thoughtbyte. And this is a lovely idea. This puzzle, by the way, it's got a 98% approval rating on Logic Masters Germany, and excitingly, just 2 stars out of 5 for difficulty. And I can summarize the rules very quickly. Basically, all of the constraints in the grid are to be viewed as standard, and if you count them, you'll see that a green line appears 3 times. Square grey boxes appear 3 times, and all we're told at the start is that 2 out of 3 of each type of clue are correct, and that's it. So it's really cool. I'll go through the rules properly in a minute or two. But this is meant to be a lovely puzzle, especially if you're new to variant Sudoku, trying to get or work out how to get your teeth into these things. This might be a good one to start with in the liar genre. Now, before I read you those rules, thanks so much to those of you who joined us on our stream last night. We had fun as always, although we did get a copyright ding for my guitar efforts at the end, which, what can you do? Anyway, the other news, 3 more things I want to mention. Firstly is I want to say very happy birthday to Dorothea. And Dorothea has turned 21 today. And I know this, Dorothea, because your dad, Peter, got in touch with us and said that you like to watch the videos together on Cracking the Cryptic. That is just great to hear. I love hearing stories of how the channel has sort of brought family members together. And Dorothea's studying to be a teacher, I believe, doing maths and English at the moment. So we wish you well with that. I understand that Peter, your dad, is sorting out the cake, so we don't have to worry about you having lots and lots of cake today, and wish you many happy returns. Next, over on Patreon, of course, we had our 12 Labours of Hercules Sudoku hunt. I've got more names for you. I'm going to have more names for several days yet of correct solvers. So very well done to Cole Young, Tim and Ben Crowley, Josh C.S. Lewis. I don't know if that means Josh is related to the Chronicles of Narnia author. I hope so. That would be so cool. Sean Lynott, Wesley Spikes, Alan Bagg, Sungu Lee, Andrew Edwards, Amanda O'Shea, Scott Ramsdale, Fulson, I hope I'm saying that correctly, I might not be, Michael Kinsella, Leo J.S., Joshua Rude. And Joshua, thank you very much for your email, meant a lot to us. And Kevin Fennell as well. Very well done to all of you. And we'll have more news on the December monthly reward in the next couple of days. Oh yeah, but there was another thing that somebody said in a comment on last night's stream video, where they said it would be a really good Patreon sort of, I don't know, adventure if the Sudoku Skunkworks created a batch of puzzles that were anonymous, and we ran a competition on Patreon to see which Patreon could guess correctly the most number of setters. I thought that was quite a cool idea. I don't know if it's a little bit arcane and recherche, but if you like that idea and you're a patron of the channel, let me know in the comments to this video. And finally, I want to trail a special video that I made last night. I haven't actually uploaded this to YouTube yet, but I hope I will get a chance to do that later on today, and if I do, it will go live maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday morning, about Mark. So a question I often get asked is just how clever is Mark? And it's not a question I like to dwell on very much, because he is really rather absurdly clever. And I decided to make a video about a puzzle that I thought demonstrated that. And it's not a Sudoku puzzle, it's a crossword puzzle. And it's not a crossword puzzle that Mark solved either. It's a crossword puzzle that Mark made, and it's called 40 Across. And it actually comes from the crossword magazine that he and I started back in the day. There is issue number 1. Anyway, the story of this puzzle and its really, really remarkable conclusion, I thought was perhaps the best way, or at least a different sort of way, of talking about my friend Mark and just how clever he is. So if you want to learn more about that, I'll try and put a link actually to that crossword under this video. Do not worry if you look at it and think, well, that's just completely balmy. You can see the clues are balmy. They've just got loads of stars in them all over the place. Yes, it's completely bonkersly hard. If you are an aficionado of the listener crossword and you have solved a few listeners, you might be able to do this puzzle by Mark. But otherwise, just have a look at it and admire it, and don't worry too much about how to solve it. I will explain more in the video that's coming up soon. Now let's have a look at Pinocchio II by thoughtbyte and see what we've actually got to do. The rules are as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Each of the following standard clue types occurs exactly 3 times in the grid: white dots, black dots, X's, V's, German whispers, grey squares, circles, and cages. And for each of those clue types, exactly 2 of the appearances of that clue are correct, and the other is incorrect. Correct clues would work as follows. So this is if you're unfamiliar with any of these rule types and how they work normally, I'm about to tell you. A white dot separates cells containing consecutive digits. So if this was a 1, this would have to be a 2. A black dot separates cells containing digits in a 1:2 ratio. So if digits are in a 1:2 ratio, that just means it's a complicated way of saying one digit is double the other. So if that was 2, that could be 1 or it could be 4. Both of those things would work. Cells separated by an X contain digits summing to 10. So imagine that was 4, that would have to be 6. Cells separated by a V contain digits summing to 5. So imagine that was a 1, that would have to be a 4. This is if the clues are correct. Obviously, they needn't be correct in this puzzle. Adjacent digits along a green German whispers line must differ by at least 5. So if this cell was a 3, this cell would have to be at least 8. It could be 9 as well. And then if that was 9, this cell would have to be 5 different from 9 at least. So it would have to be 1, 2, or 4, given it couldn't be 3 anymore. So that's how green lines work. Cells with a grey square must contain an even digit. I've got some of those. Cells with a grey circle must contain an odd digit. We've got 3 of those, arranged symmetrically as well, which is rather cute. In terms of the odds and the evens are sort of symmetrically disposed. And digits in cages sum to the small clue in the top left corner of the cage and must not repeat. So those 4 cells, if this 30 clue was correct, they would have to contain 6, 7, 8 and 9, which add up to 30, and it would be the only way of getting to 30, given you can't repeat a digit. But of course that presupposes that this 30 clue is not telling us lies, and it might be. It might be that we're dealing with a Pinocchio with a very long nose today. Do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual, but now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Okay, so the temptation to write 4 in there is quite profound. And we've got an 11 cage and a 30 cage. And the other thing I'm seeing here actually is that I can say something about these green lines, I think. Yeah, all right, let's start with, I think I'm going to start with green lines, because at least I can see something that I can say about the green lines. There are secrets. There are many secrets of Sudoku. There are many secrets. Some of them I share with you on most days, but there is a secret about green lines in Sudoku. A green German whispers line can never have a 5 on it. If it's not telling us true, if it's not telling lies, it could never have a 5 on it, because if we try and put a 5 on it, what would we put in the next cell? It's got to be at least 5 different from 5. So if we go up, we get to 10 or higher. And if we go down, we get to 0 or lower. And they aren't valid Sudoku digits. So this is interesting in the context of these 2 green lines, I think. Because if they were both true, we would have 2 5s in column 2. So they can't both be true. And that means that this one must be true, because one of these greens is lying. It's the lying green line, so we get to put a 5 in the grid there. Now, okay, I like this already. That means that the 11 cage is telling us a lie. I don't know how I'm going to record this, by the way. Maybe I don't, maybe it'll be easy to remember. I'm not sure. But the 11 cage now in 4 cells, there is one way of making 11 in 4 cells, and it's with 1, 2, 3, and our friend the 5, which can't now go in that cage. So this cage is lying, which means these 2 cages are telling the truth, which means this 30 cage is 6, 7, 8, 9. And this cage, well, that's interesting, isn't it? 26 in 4 cells doesn't have to have a 9 in it, because it could be 8, 7, 6, 5. If it was 8, 7, 6, 5, then you couldn't put 8 or 6 on this black dot, because we'd already have had 2 lots of 8, 7 and 6 in the column. That's probably not where we look next. Does it matter that there must be a 5 in one of those 2 cells? Because whichever one of these green lines is telling the truth, it's going to have a 5 in its central cell. Now, if that was down here, that would render... I'm trying to think of a good word for lying. It would render mendacious this black dot down here. Because you can't put 5 on a black dot. For a similar reason, you can't put 5 on a whisper. The next digit becomes very hard. It's either got to be 10, because the digits have to be in a 1:2 ratio. It's got to be 10 or 2.5, which won't work. Those cells can't be 5. Those can't be 5. Oh, so again, it seems to be trying to push a 5 onto one of these grey squares, and therefore prove that they're lying. Right, what else could it be? Whispers. Yeah, 4 and 6 maybe on the whisper. This is okay. Yeah, that's a good thought. This is a true whisper. So the other secret about whispers is not. So once you've figured out they can't have 5 on them, the next secret is to think about how they move, how you move from one digit to another, and you get this oscillating polarity. So each subsequent digit along the line has to be below 5, above 5, below 5, above 5. And what you quickly realise if you start to think about German whispers at all is that digits like 4 become very hard to place, because a 4 only has one natural counterpart from the sudoku digits. We need a digit that's at least 5 away from 4. There is only one, and it's 9. So if I was to try and put 4 in the middle of this line, I'd have to surround it with 2 9s, and that will break the rules of Sudoku. The same is true of 6 with the digit 1. So that means that we must have... Right, okay, I see what this is doing. So we must have 4 and 6 in this box in the ends. And now that little circle, look, is definitely telling a lie, because it should contain an odd digit. Now that means those 2 circles are telling the truth. This is going to get difficult to remember, I think. I'm going to have a colour, a truth colour. What will our truth colour be? Orange. Yeah, that actually works. I can see the grey background. So orange is the colour of truth, which means these cells have got to be 1, 3, 7 and 9. Now that feels totally anathema to me. Although that one's restricted. It feels totally anathema to write 7 and 9 as a possible option on this black dot. Because normally you can't put 7 or 9 on a black dot, because you can't put 14, 18, 3.5 or 4.5 in the accompanying square. But if this black dot is telling a lie, then I could have 7 or 9 on here. Let's come back to this square though. This square is because it's got to be 5 away from a 4 or a 6, it must be a 1 or a 9, and I guess the same is true there. Okay, so this line now is going to have a pattern, isn't it? Because if we think about it, where we've still got to put which digit should we choose? we've still got to put 3 on this line somewhere. Now, what digits can we have on both sides of a 3, given we've got to have digits that are 5 apart from 3 at least? Well, we could have an 8, and we can have a 9, but we can only have the digits 8 and 9. So given that there is a 9 in one of those squares, there must be a 3 in one of those squares, because whichever one of these is the 9 needs to have a 3 next to it. But I think the same logic is going to apply for the digit 7 on the other side. If you think about 7, what digits can go next to 7 on a green line? Well, only the digits 1 and 2. So given that we've got to put a 7 in one of those four digits, we're going to have to connect it with the 1, which we know is in one of those. So those become a 3-7 pair, and by sort of a process of elimination, we get a 2-8 pair here, with the 2-8 being a possible black dot digit. Oh yeah, that can be 8, because that doesn't have to be a black dot, and the fact that 4 doesn't exist is not a problem. Okay, so now 8. Okay, this is good. This is good. I see what's going on here. So remember that this cage is telling the truth. Oh, the truth colour. We can have truth colours. There we go. These cages are telling the truth because this cage is telling a lie. Now, what digit can we not put in our 26 cage anymore? And the answer to that is 8. So if I can't put 8 into it, I can't make it 8765. So it must have a 9 in it, which means that's not a 9 actually. And what's the most we could put in it then? It would be 976, which is 22. Right, so in fact there's only one option for this 26 cage now. It's got to be 9764. There's no way of making it up any. If I reduce one of the 7s and the 6s by 1, I have to repeat the 5 that would be the result of reduce. If I reduce the 6 to a 5, the upshot of that is you have to increase the 4 by 1 and you get 2 5s. So that won't work. There's only one way of doing this. So, right, so that digit now, I'm not sure actually. Well, because there's a 7 up here and a 9, and there's a 7 and a 9 there. Oh, this is, right, this is resolved. This is huge. This is huge. Because the question we can now ask, let's focus very much on the digit 7 in these two columns. And let me ask a facetious question. How many 7s do we think there are going to be in column 6 in the correctly finished puzzle? Now, I'm not going to ask you to pause the video, because hopefully everyone chorused 1 7. You're quite right. There's going to be 1 7. And how many 7s do we think there are going to be in that column in the correctly completed puzzle? Well, the answer to that is 1. There is going to be 1 7. So in those 18 cells, in the correctly completed grid, there are going to be 2 7s. But we know that there's 1 7 in there and there's 1 7 in there. So how could this be a 7? It would be a third 7 in 2 columns of the grid, and that will break the rules of Sudoku. So that's a 3, and that allows us to do polarity, because if this is a low digit, it's on the low side of 5, these 2 digits have got to be on the high side of 5 to make sure they're 5 apart. So that's got to be 4, that's got to be 6, that's got to be 1, that's 7, that's 2, and all of a sudden we've got a flurry of digits in the grid. And this black dot, oh, now this cell has 2 personalities, because it's a correct clue for the purposes of its circular nature, but it's an incorrect clue for the purposes of its black dot nature, because that we can't accompany the 8 with a 4. I don't have any clue how I'm going to. Well, I suppose the way to deal with that is to highlight these 2 with the rings of truth, isn't it? Or the colour of truth. Now, no, this is mighty. This is mighty, because now that can't be 5. You can't put 5 on a black dot. This is a lovely puzzle. It's absolutely lovely. So now this becomes a 5. I don't know whether that's a true white dot. We know that must therefore be a 4-6 pair, exactly the same as this. So again, we can start to structure our pencil marks in the remaining cells like that, which Okay, well, all I'm seeing there is that 6 is no longer an option for these x's. I don't know whether I can do more than that. There's probably there's probably something going on there. Oh, hang on, there's something awry here, isn't there? Oh, well, something's telling a lie here, because this is a white dot. And that means if it was correct, those digits would be consecutive. And one thing I know about consecutive numbers is that one of them will be odd and one of them will be even. There is a knowledge bomb for you. But if given this is even, that would imply this is odd. But the grey square is saying that it's even. So there's definitely a sort of, there's a hint of truth and a hint of lie about that domino. Okay. Right, this black dot is telling the truth. Now, because the nature of a black dot is that one digit is double the other, one of the digits on this black dot is an even digit. Now, the only even digits available are, well, at least one of them is an even digit. The only black even digits available are 2 and 4. But if I put a 4 on this black dot, I would have to put a 2 on it, because it can't have 8 on it. So there is definitely a 2 on that black dot. And that's absolutely beautiful. That cannot be the 2 because of this 2-8 pair. So that becomes a 2. Now that means this digit is a 1 or a bobbins. I thought that was going to do it. I thought we were going to get more joy from column 3. But so this is a 1 or a 4. Let me just stare at this for a moment or two. Okay. I don't know. That digit can't be 7 or 9 because of the 7s and 9s that are busy occupying these cells. So that's 1 or 3. The 11 cage is telling us fibs. 1 in box 9 has to be in one of those 2 cells. So if it was here, this V clue would be telling fibs, because we can't put 4 into this cell. Oh, 1 by sudoku goes at the top of the grid. Yes, I was hoping that was going to do something, because I was realising that I was drying up there in terms of logic I could see. But that's now a 9, which means this is a 1, which means that's a 6, that's a 4, and then we can use oscillating polarity to help us fill the rest of the box. This 6-7 pair means that those 2 cells now must be a 6-7 pair. And this 8 means that's the 8 and that's the 9, which means we can get rid of 9 down here. So we've got a 4, 6, 7 triple, which means I must know what that digit is. That digit's a 5 for the purposes of completing this column. There's definitely a 4 in this domino, because in this triple the 4 is here. So there's no 4 over there. So I've got 6, 7, 9 here as well. Okay. I've got I've got something. I think this has been, no, maybe this hasn't been available for a while, but it's been forced by getting these 2 1s, because look, I've got to put 1 now on this V clue where it cannot have a 4 with it. So this is telling a lie, which means that, where are the others? That one's telling the truth, the colour of truth. That one's telling the truth. So we can't put 1 here. So this becomes a 1. That becomes a 4. Maybe I should have a lying colour. I'm just thinking, I want to keep track of the fact that that's telling a lie. Oh, look. Sudoku allows us to fill it in fact. So how many 1s have we got? Loads. There's a 1 in one of these cells, but we can't use the whisper's logic because we know this whisper is telling lies. That's telling a lie. I'm going to just highlight that purple. Purple can be the colour of lying. Now, do we know whether that's telling the truth or not, this X clue? Maybe not. Can we get... We know there's an 8 on one of these X clues. And we know there's a 3 on one of these X clues as well. Now, does that mean something? I fear it might do. What about this row then? So we've got, oh, 9. Hang on, look, just Sudoku on this row. I can't put 9 there, so I have to put 9 on the V, which I'm going to now remove my lying colour because now that's done. It's not really recording anything. So those two squares are a 3-8 pair. Those two squares can't be 3-8 therefore. And if these were telling the truth, there would be 2s and 7s into the... So this is clever logic. This is clever. I really like this puzzle thought byte. Look, because we know there's a 3 in one of these, we know that wherever that 3 goes, it's telling a lie because of this 7 here, preventing us from doing a 3-7. So there must be a truth in the form of an 8. One of these is an 8. There must be a 2 in one of those, which is quite a lovely thought. So now there's a 2 in one of these. And this X must be telling the truth because we know that whichever one of these is 3-7 is telling us lying. So that gets awarded the colour of truth. That becomes a 9. Oh, that does give us a 9 here. I was just about to say that 9 was very underwhelming. 9 goes in one of those two squares. Now, do we know which of these is the truth teller? I don't know. That's telling the truth, is it? That seems to... Yes, that's got the truth colour attaching to it. Oh, no. Right. The simpler thing is, look, I've got a 3-5 white dot now. Now, that's not telling the truth. There is no even number on that white dot. So this and this get awarded the colour of truth. But... okay, and that's breaking this one, isn't it? Because this was the one that had a shade of truth and a shade of mendaciousness about it. And because this has to be a truth white dot, this cell has to be 5 or 7 somehow is unresolved, but it's clearly odd, which means that this grey square is telling a lie, which means that grey square is telling the truth. I think the simplest way, in fact that's an 8. It's seeing 4, 6 and 2, so we now know it's an 8. And it can't be next to a 9 because the 9's in the column. So that gives us a 7 to make sure that's consecutive, and that gives us a 5 there. But we have to hunt for the other there. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't appreciated that. I got this digit as a 2 using the power of grayskull. No, it wasn't the power of grayskull. It was, I knew that there had to be an even digit on this true black dot. And that got me the 2. But what I didn't take away from that is that that 2 is actually in a grey square. So that I could have concluded that one of those grey squares had to be telling a lie. But anyway, it doesn't matter now. We know it was this one that was telling a lie. But all our white dots are now done. I'm just trying to see if I can do some Sudoku now. What about this row? I need 2, 3 and 4. Yes, that's a 3 by the power of our old friend Sudoku. So that's 4. That's 2. Now we know that the 2 must be true. because we know that the 3 cannot be true. So the 2 must be with 8. That must be a 3. And I'm probably going to have to do some Sudoku down here. Is that true? Is this V clue true? I seem to have signaled. I've given it the colour of truth. Oh yeah, because that V clue is clearly a lie. Okay, well there's a 1 here, so this must be a 2-3 pair. Oh, sorry, that's been available for ages as well. Never mind. Right, so this column needs 5 and 7, which we can do. So that's 5, that's 7, that's 7, that's 6 by the power of Sudoku, because I can't put 7s in here anymore. So that becomes a 7. That square there looks like it's got to be a 6. So these squares at the top are 2, 4 and 7, which means that's a 7, look. And that's a 2-4 pair. 7 by Sudoku goes exactly there. There are 4 7s looking at box 5. That cell's got to be an 8 to complete the column. Now, come on. I have to confess, I've totally now lost track of I've totally lost track of which clues I've used and which clues I haven't, but I can see something. That has got the colour of truth about it. And 1, 2 and 3 have to be in those cells. Well, my pencil marked 1s here must be helpful. Yeah, okay, that's got to be the 1 because we need to have a 1 in this column as well. But now, what on earth do you put on a black dot if you can't put a true black dot, if you can't put 1, 2 and 3 on it? You have to put 4 and 8 on it. There's an 8 at the top. So that becomes 8, that becomes 4, that becomes 1, that becomes 3. What a beautiful puzzle this is. 4 and 9, I can do it. 4 and 9. So our 11 cage, how much was it lying by? 5. That's how much it was lying by. It's a 16 cage now. That 4 is giving me a 4 and a 6 here. So we need 2, that's a 5 by Sudoku. It sees 2, 3 in the column. So that's a 2 or a 3. That 4 is giving me a 4, a 2, a 3, a 2, a 3. What do we need in this box now? 2, 6 and 8. So that's a 2. That's a 6, 8 pair. And those squares are 6 and 9, which is done by the power of that 9. So 9 and 6 go into the grid. 5 and 7 we can do. 7 and 5 go in. 3 and 6 go in. Oh, I have. I've just seen it. Oh no, I'm going to get castigated. If I sing it, I'll probably get a copyright strike. But that's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. No, I don't think even the YouTube algorithms can detect that that is in any way an REM song, not with me singing it. So that's got to be a 1, that's got to be an 8, that's got to be an 8, that's got to be a 6, that's got to be a 6. I need to put a 5 in, and I need to put something else in. That's probably 9, isn't it? What a beautiful puzzle. Yeah, it's just brilliant, isn't it? Start to finish, brilliant. So smooth. I mean, that's probably the great adjective about this puzzle. It's so smooth. It's not too difficult to start it by thinking about the whispers if you're used to whispers logic. But then every deduction thereafter is very much, signalled and signposted. I never had to think for too long. And they were just beautiful. It was just beautiful. And I liked having a colour of truth. So let me know in the comments how you got on with the puzzle. I do enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.